Splashes of Hope is a nonprofit organization of artists. The mission is to transform hospital environments from clinical to colorful. We paint murals to brighten up the environment and to help people take their minds off their troubles.
The people that we help are patients within a hospital, a lot of pediatric patients that we paint murals for. We also paint murals for adult units. That could be veterans' homes, nursing homes, psychiatric centers.
I was introduced to splashes through our corporate volunteer program. And once I came here, I fell in love with the people and the mission. They touch so many lives that it's just amazing that the work of these artists just makes such a difference to the people who are suffering.
Heather, welcome to the main event.
Thank you for having me at the main event.
So Heather, we got a lot to talk about, but why don't you tell us about the very first mural project you ever worked on?
The very first mural project for Splashes of Hope was at Blythedale Children's Hospital in Valhalla, New York, Westchester. I went there after my friend had passed away, that you mentioned, and asked what I could do as an artist to help the kids, because sometimes the environment isn't conducive to the healing process. So they gave me a case of ceiling tiles. They said there are bedridden children who spend all day just staring at the ceilings, and if there was something to take their imaginations beyond the hospital, then it would be helpful. And that's how it started.
And then what inspired from that simple little experience to create Splashes of Hope?
The response from the patients and the nurses and the staff is what inspired to continue Splashes of Hope, because it could have just been one legacy piece, you know, in memory of my friend. But then I found that artists were interested in painting with me, and there were paint companies interested in helping with the mission, and you know, right now we rely upon a lot of in-kind contributions. This space right here is provided by the Suffolk County Parks Department, and we get paint by ABOFs. We use Benjamin Moore paints, and we get paint brushes donated to us, and we have volunteer artists. So it's just developed and it's evolved into what it is today, because just naturally people want to do something good for the world.
I think what happens a lot of times is there are so many people sitting on the sidelines that want to do a good thing, but they need a catalyst, and you have become that catalyst for a lot of people, including your own family. So you have enlisted your husband Jimmy and your daughter Sarah, and the big question is, who gets to drive the Splashmobile?
We take turns driving the Splashmobile, but Jimmy received an award. Jimmy, can you get your trophy?
Tell us what the Splashmobile is first.
The Splashmobile is the vehicle in which we transport all of the artwork and murals to the facilities. We paint them in our studio here or in home studios, and then we drive to places throughout the country. Now this year, because of the pandemic, we were able to complete our mission to splash all 50 states. And guess who drove the Splashmobile? It was Jimmy. Look at his little picture in there. So we have a full size. He doesn't shrink himself and put him in.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool. But we had a big award ceremony which we thought was the end of the pandemic, and we had the Quarantini Awards. So all of our artists received trophies for the beautiful work that they did, because they were isolated and had a lot of time, and we had a lot of donated products. So pairing the volunteers and our waiting list and the donated materials, we were able to really create so many pieces during quarantine when a lot of nonprofits weren't even able to function.
That's wonderful. So it begs the question, where did the ideas come from for each piece that you create? Because you've got things that are by the ocean, for healthcare workers' glory, for sports teams. Where does the inception of these ideas, where do they come from?
The theme for each mural is a collaboration of the staff and the artists. So if it's in a burn unit, for instance, they do a lot of hydrotherapy, water spraying. So the nurses want to use it as a tool for distraction. They'll ask the child to count how many bubbles there are. Can they find the clownfish? In different facilities, like for grown-ups, for veterans' homes or adult cancer wards, they don't get to go outside. So they ask to bring the outdoors in, and we'll paint peaceful scenes of nature, or have them feel as if they're taking a walk in the park, to take their imaginations beyond what's going on in their life right now. This is a new mission that we have, is to address what the healthcare workers have gone through and show our appreciation for them. Because during the pandemic, you saw a lot of people were writing chalk messages of gratitude on the sidewalks. Right. And those are washed away now. And people were playing music for them in the windows as they came home from the hospital. And that's silenced now. So we wanted to do something that's long-lasting, and they would know how much the community appreciates their sacrifices especially during the pandemic.
So after 25 years of splashes of hope, you have become, for lack of a better term, the Pied Piper of mural artists.
Yes.
How many volunteers do you have in the organization? Or can you even count that high?
It's not splashes of mathematicians. I cannot count that high. We've worked with hundreds of artists over the years. But right now we have more active ones than ever because now they can work in their home studios. Jimmy takes the splash mobile and brings assignments to people, or they'll come here and we have what we call a grab and go. They'll take home assignments to paint, and they'll paint focal points or ceiling tiles, small scale ones. And then we have artists who go big and stay home, and they'll do a big mural like this in their home studio.
Wow. So we had the pleasure of meeting one of your volunteer artists, Liz Schaefer. Can you tell us what she means to you and how special she is?
Liz Schaefer is an amazing human being, and she helped us all get through the pandemic as well. I have to say, she organized Zoom meetings to keep everybody together and connected, even though we couldn't be together. She created a splash club in her college, the Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and each week their team would paint a beautiful mural. And again, we didn't have sponsorship for it, but we had materials, and she rallied the volunteers. So we're able to do so much more because of Liz. She inspires so many people to help and to bring beauty into the world. And I have to say, in the beginning, when our friend introduced us, he said, "Oh, she's legally blind," and I was like, "Wait, what? How is?" I could not understand how she could fit into the organization. But then, after meeting her and seeing her work, she has the most beautiful style, and she has such detail in her murals. She's right up close to it, like 2 inches away from it, and creates the most amazing pieces. The last one that she did with the rest of the club was an I Spy Boston, and it was for the Home for Little Wanderers. And it's just a place that they can escape to. They see all these characters and all the local sites that they incorporated into this wild design. And Liz Schaefer just is an inspiration.
So you mentioned you've done installations now in all 50 states. Do you have, it's like, who's your favorite child? But Do you have a favorite installation that you've done? Was it the first one you ever did? Was it the last one? Is it the next one that you're going to do? What's your favorite?
It's gonna be the next one, but it is the last one that we just did, you're right.
Okay.
This one, we were supposed to do a 4x8 in this huge recreational therapy in St. John Land Nursing Center, right in Kings Park. And it's sponsored by a splash star of ours. And
Which we're going to get to in a
which we're
minute.
gonna get to. But he did a raffle, and he sells lemonade, and we saw this wall and realized that we had to go big, because the wall that we just finished splashing is 21 feet high and 38 feet across. They have steps that they have the patients practice. These are patients who are just learning how to walk again, we're learning how to talk again, and they just had this big blank wall. So we created a scene of, it's a water view with a dock, there are dogs in it. We had a scissor lift that was going pretty wild. We did it in 1 week, and it just made such an impact on the patients and the staff, and the response from them was really incredible. One of the patients hadn't been responsive at all, and we saw his wife rolled him in a wheelchair, and he had suffered a fall from the stairs. So the day before, he was perfectly fine, an athlete, and everything was cool. And then the next day, he could barely talk and walk. And when she rolled him into the room where we had just finished painting, his eyes lit up, and she said she could see that it's making a difference for him. So
That's an incredible motivational story, and it tells you the power of artwork, that it can have that kind of an influence on people who are going through the toughest part of their life. For most people, when they first get diagnosed with whatever, it's the hardest part. And if there's something they can focus on that helps them start getting better, it's really using art in the healing process. So it's wonderful that you have captured that. You mentioned before the splash stars. So tell us a little bit about splash stars, but also, do these people who are your splash stars, they ever pick up a brush and try to help?
Ethan's gallery space. Now, Ethan is one of our splash stars. Splash stars are children with life-threatening illnesses who have to spend a lot of time in their room. They can't be outside in nature, playing as healthy children would. So we visit them at their house, measure out their bedroom, and create a design including all of their favorite things in the world. And some of these compositions are insane, but it delights them, because every morning they wake up and they see all their favorite things.
So it's safe to say you don't need a degree in fine arts in order to participate in Splashes of Hope?
You don't need a degree in fine arts. Everyone has their own talents, we'll say that, because there are so many things that people can get involved with if they wanted to volunteer. We have fundraising events, we have panels to be primed, and all kinds of stuff to do at in the studios. We need office help. So, if you're not an artist, you can still help. But artists, we work with retired artists, high school artists, college level.
Splashes of Hope's mission is to brighten the world with art. After 25 amazing years plus, what brightens your world?
Liz Schaefer. And the people, our community is just, we feed off each other with goodness. And I think that's what the world needs right now.